What's good, everybody? Welcome to Teach and Learn. Quick tips to empower educators. Really quick, I want to just talk about value. It's something that's been thrown out a lot. Add value, make sure that you provide value to other people, and not necessarily in the context of cost, because a lot of times value and cost, they get, equated to each other, which, they're not the same thing. But really thinking about our value as people, but then of course thinking about it from the lens of being educators and stepping into different spaces, especially if you're thinking about transitioning into a new aspect of education, even out of education altogether, into something corporate related to your job, or starting your own brand or business or whatever it is that you're thinking. The main premise of it, again, going back to value, is what is it that you're actually offering and providing to other people, to that organization, to that community, outside of some of the menial things, right? So taking away really anything that just about anybody else can put into something, right? If you have money, people can pour money into things. So the cost idea goes kind of out the window, but it more so gets down to the core of like who you are, right? Your principles, the skills and experiences that you bring that are unique only to you, right? Not necessarily to everybody else. Because what we don't realize, I think sometimes, especially as educators, as teachers, is that our experience, our value, actually can take something that somebody else is already building on or creating and catapult it to the next level. And also on the flip side of that, whenever we decide to create whatever it is that we want to build, right, produce, simply put, an example would be Edu Hustle. For me, it, again, when we can reach into realizing our value, what we bring to the table, and say, you know what, I am great, right? I do have these things in my toolkit, and then just realizing how we can apply that, right? How it can be implemented, how it can be put in place, and then how it can basically, take whatever already is and make it even that much greater, 10x the whole thing, move it up to the next level. I think that's where our power comes in, right? So really considering, who are you? What does that look like in transference to what it is that you can provide, what you can bring, what you can offer? And on the backside of all of that, the proof of concept, honestly, is seeing what the result is, usually for the benefit of other people, right? If you're a classroom teacher, for example, you put in your value every single day, you show up, you do your instruction, whatever it is, all those things outside of the scope of teaching, because we know that teaching is a small part of being a teacher, right? You take on so many different hats, so many different roles throughout the course of that actual experience in your career, that all those other things add only to your skill set, to your value, which means that then you can do even more than what the job description says, right? So when we're stepping into a corporate environment or role, something in ed tech, we need to make sure that we not only can reach back and highlight those things, but really appreciate them, because a lot of times our value and our experiences and the things that we've done and accomplished kind of get shuttered, and we dim the light on them, when really we should be bringing those things to the forefront and saying, look at this, look what I created, look what I produced, what I built. Because at the end of the day, those things can then, again, be multiplied and leveraged in different capacities. It doesn't have to look exactly the same all the time, but just realize that you do have value. The things that you have done and are currently doing can be implemented and can be applied in different ways, right? Across different industries, whatever it is. It's just a matter of realizing how that can be done. And in many cases, when we step into those types of environments and roles and different responsibilities, the people around you are going to see those things, and they themselves will realize, what, we could put this, into practice right here. We can use this here. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not valuable, right? So really consider that on the scope of, what are we doing to add value? One of the things that I always kind of pinpoint related to Edu Hustle, and the thing that I've focused on in terms of supporting educators, like anybody listening to this, is how can I support as many people as possible without necessarily having to have so much of, an emphasis on a price tag, right? I listened to a podcast, and one of the greatest things that I took away from it was one of the gentlemen said, figure out how you can help 1,000 people for free. Help first, and then go from there. Because at that point, your value as well as your pricing, if you go into that realm, can now become, a little bit more equated, with each other, because you can say, well, I know that I provide this. I know that I can do this. I know that I've helped this many people in this way, right? To become successful in this situation, to get to this conclusion, this result. So if you have that backing, then you can kind of say, well, I know that I'm worth this, right? Because at the end of the day, our value is really thinking about the determination of what is your worth, right? And that goes into a lot of things, but really just keep that in mind as we're going forward. How are we pouring into not only other people and helping them reach their goals and achieve their successes, but also how are we recognizing our own value and doing that for ourselves? I hope that helps.